warning our affiliates, we are going to run a little bit over because we got some more great people to hear from. Alexander, welcome in. Please tell people who don't know where you are, who you're supporting, and what's on your mind.
Good morning. Sorry, I can't see myself, so I'm a little talking at a black screen.
That's all right.
Um,
All right, we see you look fine. You're
okay,
well
all right,
framed
cool.
and got a cool
Okay.
picture behind you. Can't tell what it is, but it looks cool.
Oh, it's John Michelle Basquiat. But first of all, morning,
Great.
Dan. I'm a neighbor up here in the Upper West Side, Manhattan. Um, and my thoughts on last night. I think it really.
Alexander, who are you supporting for president?
Ooh, that's right now. I'm Trump.
Okay,
Um, I took a breath because I'm in Manhattan. I don't want anybody to hear me say that.
that's all right.
Um,
Just don't hold
but
up any piece of mail or anything. Did you vote for
yeah,
Trump in 16 or 20?
I did.
Yeah. Okay.
And full disclosure, I used to work White House Situation Room um, for Obama Biden, and I also was on the comms team for General Lloyd Austin when he was our U.S. Commanding General of
What
Iraq.
made you with that pedigree? What made you a Trump man?
Well, those jobs they were never political; they were
Yeah.
public service.
Yeah.
Um, the thing I liked about working in government when I was there was we honestly didn't talk politics that much. It just really wasn't. We did our job. So when I was in the Situation Room, I was there 2012 through 2015. If Romney had won, my job wouldn't have changed. Preparing the president's intelligence brief would have still been my priority.
Yes, sir.
So,
That's awesome.
um, so for me, it's never been really about the parties. It's been about who can best present their ideas, who can communicate better. I think last night, I think it really showed that Vance has been doing interviews. He's been challenged a lot since he's been announced. And so he's used to being in that combative space. I think Waltz, he's been used to sitting half a step behind Harris, trying to not outshine her, kind of be agreeable and very likable. But that's not a good side by side on a national stage where I counted at least 25 times. He was like, I agree with him. I agree. We agree. It's, you just can't do that when you're trying to actually beat somebody in a debate. And so
Yep.
I think it really showed the strategies that the campaigns have taken from a communication standpoint and preparation of their candidates.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
you
If
know,
if
um,
if yes, sir,
yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Well, if all the votes are counted, not just the votes at Zabar's, who do you think is going to win the election and why?
I'm gonna say the same thing I said in 2016. I think Trump is gonna win,
Yeah.
and I was kind of at the time I was actually attending school on Columbia University campus, and you would have thought it was 9/11 there when they announced it
Yeah.
that Trump won. It was crazy, but for me, it was not an emotional reaction. I've never had an emotional reaction to an election. I look at it as we live in a functioning republic with democratic policies. I believe in government. I believe in the strength of our government. I don't believe hypes around, this is a risk to our democracy and, we're going to topple like Rome. I don't believe that. I've
Yeah.
been in those rooms, I've been with those people. There's so much more that goes on behind the scenes that the everyday citizen doesn't see. And I think it's irresponsible that we put those messages out so
Yeah.
much. But
Alexander, I bet you Sean and Dan both want to ask you a question. So I want to let
oh,
them do that. But I
go
want to
ahead.
ask you one and then give you a chance if you have a question. What do
hmm
you if you what kind of business are you in here in Manhattan now? If you're
Um,
open to saying,
now I work in corporate affairs in the energy
uh,
industry,
got it.
strategic communication.
Uh, and
Yep.
and is the energy industry and Trump's position versus Harris, does that inform your support for Trump at all?
Um, no.
No.
My job is my job. I will
Yep.
take a note that I sent my boss a message as soon as the debate was over. It was like energy was a big topic tonight,
Yeah.
and so that will shape, you know, how we talk about it at our job for the next,
Yep.
couple of
Sure.
months or so. But
Yep.
no, my girlfriend asked me this morning, how could I vote for a Republican if I worked. Oh, I also was on the Bloomberg campaign. So they say, how can I work in Democratic spaces and still vote Republican? For me, a job is a job. When you go there, you don't take your personal feelings to your job. What I do, I
What?
serve whoever I'm working with. I want them to win. If I was on
Yeah.
Harris's team right now, I'd want her to destroy Trump.
Huh.
But
Alexander,
I would,
the more the more
yeah,
the more you talk, the more questions I have, but I need to bite my tongue. Dan,
okay.
question for Alexander. If you'd like, you can pass, but if you got one, please ask.
No, no question. I was just going to
All right,
compliment him on. Yep.
I just
Sean.
real quick, Alexander. First, thank you for your service and everything you've done for the country. I appreciate that and your words, because I think it's important in these days to remember that sometimes we can actually go do a job, do it well, and leave our politics aside. So thank you for your service and for your comments. When you go out and talk, I mean, you're in New York. You've got a lot of. I think the circles that you're running in between your girlfriend and some of the things that you've said. Are there other people that might not have voted for Trump the last couple cycles like you that are open to the argument, or are you sort of a unicorn among your friends and family?
Um, don't tell her this, even though she's probably gonna see it. I think my girlfriend's gonna vote Trump. Um, and we talked about it last night. I stopped right at the end of the debate and said, if you weren't looking at this in the way in which I look at these things, where you just take it and you just look at the facts of things, not the feelings and all this kind of stuff. Look at the facts. Would you even be considering voting Trump? And she 100% would have never, because her circle is not that here in New York. And a lot of the people that I talk to, I have empathy for a lot of people that I speak to in New York. First of all, I'm from rural East Texas. That's where I grew up. So I bring that background as well. Being a veteran, bring that background. These are all things that are polar opposite of Manhattan, New York. And I feel sorry sometimes. I feel empathetic sometimes because when I pose certain questions to my friends here in New York, I can see their face drop. I can see the hurt and the doubt in what they've been believing for a period of time. And I don't villainize anybody for their choice, just like I don't want to be villainized for my choice. But you know, that's what I feel is happening. I think a lot of people's eyes are starting to get open because of the poor communication of the Democratic Party as a whole. They're not effective communicators. They are not effective at knowing how to win. To actually, they talk coalition, they talk coming together. And I could say we, because I've been on them teams and I've sat in some of those rooms and said, we don't know how to win. It's we always got to slice out a little piece of every single topic and say, oh, well, we believe in this, but oh, wait, but we need to add in this group and we need to add this group and we need to make sure we cover this. It's like Republicans are a lot better at coalescing around one idea and kind of going with that. Whether there's parts of it that are a little fuzzy on the outside and aren't agreeable to the major public, they don't care. They're thinking about winning, and which I think that's where the Democratic Party needs to get.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess me giving advice to the Democratic Party, I just want what I liked about last night. I'll say this: I liked that I could watch it, and it was a debate. I like a good fight. I like going back. It was civil.
Yeah, Alexander, you haven't been able to read the chat while you've been talking, unless you're a brilliant multitasker. I think basically that by popular demand, folks would like you to have your own show on Two Way. So clear that with your boss if you can. Number one. Number two, we haven't even talked about your time in Iraq, which someone just emailed me and said you served in Iraq. And Sean already thanked you for your service, but that's above and beyond. I haven't asked you to show
I'm
us.
really worried. I'm really worried that people I have worked with before can see
are going to see
me. And I think some of them might be disappointed. But they know me. Everybody who's worked with me knows me. And I'll say to you, like I said
go
to
ahead, sir.
Dan,
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I'm in the neighborhood, so we can all grab
Yeah.
coffee. I'm on 80,
What's your best
86.
What's 86? What's your best piece of Bloomberg swag from the campaign?
Oh, you know
you
what?
got?
I kept some pins that
Yeah.
were, I think it said it had something to do with women's reproductive rights, but I thought from a design standpoint, it was one of the best like
Yeah.
pins that I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
And so I kept
They had
that.
incredible stuff. When we go to
Yes.
dinner, me, you, and Dan, John Podhoretz is going to come too because he's a
86.
fan already. Yeah. Alexander, stand by for 1 second. Shannon, Shannon, raise your physical hand if you're a Harris supporter. Are you a Harris supporter? Yes? No, you're not. All right. I'm trying to get a Harris supporter on here because we've just by the luck of the draw had all Trump supporters, and we're already so far over. We might as well run into the next show. If you've got your hand up, Tom, are you a Harris supporter? Tom, raise your hand. No. Mark Kramer, Justin, are you a Harris supporter? It's ruining the way I promote this program that we got people from across the board. Anybody who's on here who's a Harris supporter who would like to speak? Oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, the man who always helps us out when we need a Harris supporter, Mr. Chris Simmons.
And his
Chris,
Harvard t-shirt.
Chris, first of all, are you excited about Kamala Harris coming to Georgia today?
No, not particularly.
No? All right. Chris, welcome. Would you like to ask Alexander a question? You don't have to, but offer you the opportunity.
Oh yeah, I'd love to ask him a bunch of questions. Here's one.
All right. Yeah.
What percentage of his black friends does he think agree with his point of view?
Oh, this is a good one. First of all, Chris, I like you, man. I've been watching you for weeks here. Just as a person, I like you. I'm from
Chris,
the South.
just to be clear, Chris, just to be clear, Alexander, sorry to interrupt. I want to go back talking to Chris. You are the it participant today, but let's pay homage to the longtime dominant figure, Chris Simmons. But I like the fact that you've been watching him and you appreciate him, even though you're voting for different people. That's right in the ethos of this platform. I apologize for interrupting. Alexander, you go. Tell Chris how awesome he is, whatever you want to do. And respond to his question, please.
I'll respond to his question. I'll respond to his question first. One, I also throw in the fact that I'm a major in African American diaspora studies from Columbia University. And so being black and understanding the black experience is something it's who I am, you know. And so in the same way that someone mentioned faith earlier, I don't talk about my faith all the time, but my dad's a pastor of the second oldest African American church in Texas. So I have being African American, being black is core to who I am. And I would say a lot of my black friends at my age, which I'm 37, and the majority of my black friends in New York are actually younger than me. For once, I'm the old person in the room, opposite to my career previously. I think that they are starting to lean a lot more Trump, which is surprising in New York. I mean, they initially start with Trump's crazy. Trump's, he's wild, or, but as you can see, you get in a conversation with me, we're going to have a conversation. Like I'm just going to, talk about it. And I'm not a Trump fanboy. So like, I think JD Vance did a tremendous service to Trump last night, because if you're worried about the top of the ticket, you got to make sure that the bottom of the ticket is solid. And so he kind of balanced that, which to go all the way back, if we were worried about Biden, we should just swapped out the VP, which was thrown out there at the beginning, but that's neither here nor there. I would say, and I just recently saw someone who actually is advising the Harris campaign, who's an older African American man, probably looks like he's probably in your age group, and his position on what he thinks the black community is saying is so out of touch. It's so out of touch. It's a generational. There's a generational shift that has taken place that I think the older African American community doesn't see. They don't, and it's not because they don't want to see it. They just don't. There aren't many people like me who bridge that gap, who can talk to someone who's older and also talk to someone who's younger. I'm sitting the other night having drinks with friends. A friend of mine who's known me for 2 years thought I was 25. I'm 37. And it just never came up in our age. But then I sit with an older person like yourself, and there's a certain type of deference that I take. But I also, I have to say in a polite way, that's just out of touch. The older African
So,
American.
Sean, I have a follow on.
Yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So 4 years ago,
Hmm.
Trump only got 2% of the black female, no, maybe 5% of the black female vote
Hmm.
nationally, and I think about 10 to 12% of the black male vote.
Hmm.
So my question to you is, what do you think has happened in the last 4 years
Oh,
that's going
I,
to
I
make
I give you
such a
that answer.
significant shift? Okay.
I get it because I'll tell you now, I'm a one issue voter. I live in Manhattan, and as crazy as it sounds, I want to own something. Like that is my goal. I want to own something. I come from I come from Texas, where the idea that you grow up, you get married, or you don't get married, you buy a house. You know, met my girlfriend here who was born and raised in New York, Puerto Rican. She never thought about the concept of ownership. Renting is just the mindset in New York. If you're not, of a certain social status or a certain financial, socioeconomic background. And I think a lot of African American men, and I'm speaking to African American men here, I think we do that in our society so much that we focus on what African American women are doing instead of talking about the black vote as a whole. And because we forget a lot of times, those African American women, those black women, are a lot of times in partnerships with their men who, speaking big picture, in the same way that we have the flyover states and we don't think about middle America, sometimes we don't think about black men. We don't. Only time we talk about them is when we talk about incarceration rates and we talk about, poor depictions of them in media, etc. But now we have to like talk to them because, oh, they have some value because their votes could go a certain way. And I mean, brother to brother, I'm just gonna say, we like that. We like that. Oh, now you see me. Now I have a little bit of value. So I'm gonna try to expend some of that capital. I'm gonna try to get something out of you. Like this is the first time you're looking at me, because you've been hyping my woman for so long. Now you're looking at me. There's a little bit of like, okay, I mean something. I have value, and I think whether or not, and I'll say this about Trump, whether or not Trump succeeds in doing anything for black people or black men in particular, the fact that he presents the idea that I see you first, he goes to him first and says, I see you. Oh yeah. Somebody said, and I forget who it was, I'm sorry. I heard some commentator say, or it might have been on this show yesterday or something. Trump has this ability that when he's in the room with somebody, he makes that person feel like they are the most important person at that moment. When you get certain interviews with Trump, you see how he does. When you see him talk to these streamers, I don't watch streamers. Like that's not my thing. But when I see how he sits with those people and says,
Hey,
"Hey,
Alexander,
you're the
can I
man."
point something out to you?
Yeah.
Can I point something out to you?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
you just said you said you want to own something, right?
Mhm.
Kamala says she's going to give first-time home buyers a big tax incentive.
Okay, so
What's Trump
you know
going to
what
do for you?
happens there? You know what happens there? Home builders raise the price of their initial offering on the house by $25,000. Woo. Okay, that's an easy fix. for the housing industry. They just raise it 25. It's gonna go up anyway with inflation. Like that's not doing anything for me.
Chris Simmons can stand a double team. Here's Trump supporter Shannon Swift. Shannon, where do you live?
Well, I'm in between Yonkers and Riverdale, but right now I'm in Williamsburg, in Brooklyn.
Yeah, and did you vote for Trump in either 16 or 20 or both?
No, I was a national delegate for Bernie Sanders. I helped many people. I was in many states. I was doing a lot of work for Bernie.
All right, so Sanders in 16 or Sanders in 20?
Both.
Both.
Yes, but then I voted for Biden. Excuse me, I voted for Clinton and then Biden.
Yeah, and now you're voting for Trump?
Yes,
All right, hold on 1 second. Before you explain that, Chris Simmons, I'm worried about your head exploding. You okay, man? You okay?
I'm still. I'll bet both of these guys that Trump will not get more than 20% of the overall black voters. They are in the minority.
Okay.
So no,
I'm not saying he's gonna. I'm not gonna say
Yeah.
I'm never gonna say he's gonna get the majority of the black vote. I think.
No, I didn't say. I didn't say.
Well, he didn't say. He said 20%.
Okay,
we'll
I
see
said 20%.
if the exit poll's right. Hold on, Alexander.
all
Hold on.
Yeah.
Sorry, because at some point the internet will run out here. Shannon, tell us briefly about your journey from Bernie Sanders activist to Trump voter. How'd that happen?
Well, basically, I have some notes here. I'm like a little bit. I really have a lot of respect for both gentlemen. Yeah. So basically, I I saw that vision of him when I was 18 years old. I saw, Trump was running as a populist and Bernie was running as a populist. I thought that Bernie was really the right answer. I convinced a lot of my family and friends, and I know a lot of the, New York politicians, worked on the Upper West Side. And I just see this cadre of, as Dr. Peterson had said, this cadre of people that he's bringing together, RFK Jr., Vivek, Vance, Tulsi Gabbard, who, how could you say, she, if you want to say, dropped out as vice chair of the Democratic National Committee. And, I saw everything that happened during that primary, and it just really left a bad taste in my mouth with the Democratic Party. I don't hate Kamala, but I just feel like Hillary Clinton really wanted to be president. I could at least respect her for that after everything with WikiLeaks, but I don't see that with Kamala Harris. I feel like she's incredibly unprepared, and I feel like they're almost gaslighting the African-American community to vote for her just because. So, I think with Trump in 24, I think it's very different than 16 and 20. I think he's really trying to, if you saw the RFK interview with Dr. Peterson, you really can see all of the nuances of how President Trump is trying to change I think he's trying to moderate a bit more, and I think he's having an all-expansive party because, I'm a young person, I'm LGBT, all these things. I should not be voting for Donald Trump, by all, demonstrable measure. But, I just see this as a real once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see someone that really wants to change America. And I believe it. Maybe I'm wrong.
Guys, I mean, we could, based on the reaction I'm getting, we could do this for another 2 hours, but I got to go, and some other people have to go. Here's the good news. At 10 o'clock, we got to take a break. At 10:30, I'm back with another two-way. I don't know if Dan and Sean can come, but you three are welcome, and we can pick right back up here, and we'd love for you guys to come. Shannon, have you been watching a lot of two-ways, or are you new here?
I've been, as you could tell in my shaky voice, I've been a nervous wreck. I've been wanting to come on the show for about 3 months, but I was too afraid to do it. So
yeah,
thank you for doing it.
Yeah,
Hey,
we
me
love
too,
having you
Shannon.
here. And you're a super fan of Chris Simmons, I assume, right?
yes, I have a lot of respect for him and Mr. Starr. This is my first time seeing him, but I've been on the Upper West Side. I work as a caregiver now, and I just see everybody watching MSNBC all day, and it's like, I get Fox News also has their own thing going on, but it's just propaganda. But I digress.
Yeah, no, that's all right. We like people who come here for the right reasons. Shannon, take a minute and convince Chris he should vote for Donald Trump.
Oh gosh, well, I'll say this. My mom wants me to. I'm sure she'll want me to call you Mr. Halpern, but
don't do that. Don't do that.
Yes. But oh my gosh, I can't. I don't think I'm in the business of doing that. I'd rather defer to
Sean. That's right. I was mostly kidding, but I just trying to keep Chris light about this, because I would say this is Chris's worst nightmare. maybe.
But I don't hate.
Maybe top 10. No, I know.
Harris.
I mean, what's made this such a nightmare for Chris, and here I am speaking for Chris, is you guys are both so extremely thoughtful about your support for Donald Trump, and it does not accord with probably what Chris likes to think about Trump supporters. Chris, I'm just going to keep speaking for you. No, these are your.
Mark,
doing a
can I
good
say
job.
one thing?
Okay, yeah, please.
I wanna echo what Shannon said and what I
Yeah.
said at the top of my comments earlier, and I want Chris to hear this. Chris, you mean something to us as Black
Absolutely.
men.
Absolutely.
I've watched you engage here, and this is beyond this conversation. Like, we need more men like you in our communities
Amen.
to speak and to carry the message that you're carrying. In terms of, like Mark just joked about, like switching you to another candidate or something. I would never. I don't try to switch anybody
Yeah.
on their vote, because I genuinely believe, like I believe in freedom of speech. I believe that everyone's vote, however you choose to cast it, is your right, and it is for your reasons, and no one should be able to say anything to you about it, and you should stand on it. If you believe in something or someone or someone's identity, whatever it is, don't let anybody, even in this moment where you got two Black men of a younger generation on a little bit on the opposite side, because I say I'm more centrist, but just understand what you mean to us. Like, and
Yeah,
I
right.
hope that's
I'm-
conveyed to you.
Yeah, Chris, do you want to respond briefly? I know you're
Yeah, I
touched
just
because
want
this
to
is
say, I just want to say one final thing to my younger brothers here, and maybe it is generational, but here's a disqualifying moment for me forever for Trump. When he said, when asked about David Duke on one occasion, he wasn't sure, didn't know who David Duke was.
Mm-hmm.
That either said that he's a lying something or another about racial stuff, or he's stupid, because any white man of his age in politics in this country knows who the hell David Duke is. And so there's some fundamental stuff with Trump that we just can't get past.
Yeah, well, in the Central Park Five, I mean, Barack Obama, the leader of the birther movement. There's a million things, but everyone has loved this conversation. We're all grateful to the three of you and to Sherilyn, who spoke earlier, and the others who spoke. And Chris, I hope you feel the respect. I know you do, but we all do, and I think it's just such a great part of two-way that we're talking to people from all over the country, mostly the Upper West Side, but all over the country, and people with different points of view. And when Chris talks about David Duke, I know how strongly he feels about that. I keep speaking for you, but I know I'm right about that. And you guys coming on here, and I can announce today the formation of Black men of the Upper West Side who are Bernie Bros and Bloomberg alums. It's a disparate group, but we got to get a better name. It's like Bernie Bros, Bloomberg.
We'll come up with something.
Whatever. But the fact that we got a former Bloomberg guy and a former Bernie guy here for Trump, and Chris can just be smiling and taking it all in. That's why we created this platform. Grateful to everybody.